President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidential pardon has raised a lot of controversies. The clemency, everything around the action he took has generated a lot of controversy from different quarters. Everyone have their opinion, and you know this is Nigeria. Whatever happens, especially from the top, people have one or two things to say about it. But then ordinarily, we should be thinking that, well, this is pardon given to people who have been incarcerated for a while, people in prison, and people that have missed their families, their businesses, probably the outside world. But as it is, this pardon has been faced with a lot of criticism and, of course, controversies. As it is, we were being told that the president did it, but this is something that a lot of people said, okay, to the side it should be done. Now, we want to look at these issues today from the legal perspective of it. Joining me on the conversation this morning is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst in the person of Barrister Monday Eje. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning.
It's lovely to be here again. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now let's get into the conversation. Some persons, ordinarily, these are people that their families are celebrating. Maybe probably they themselves should be celebrating because some persons were in custody for well over 5 to 10 years and they get freedom by a pardon coming from the president. Were you expecting the controversy that is rising from this pardon?
Yes, well, it's expected, actually, for basically two reasons. Number one of the reasons is in the political circles, the number one rule for them is if you are not in power, anything the person or the party that is in power does should be criticized, in quotes. I won't use criticism because most of what we do here is basically no criticism. Must be vilified, must be condemned. So based on that, there is nothing any government in power will do that those who feel their opposition party or the main opposition party or voices in opposition should speak good of. Then number two, yes, the composition, the nature, the predominant nature of offenses that you have there, and some of the personalities that were granted that amnesty or pardon is another reason why, it's expected that there should be voices against those on the list. But if you want to take it legally, you might not necessarily need to say a word about it because there are constitutional provisions and procedures for this exercise. So it depends on whether you want to be legalistic about the scenario or you want to be political about it and or you want to be moral about it. So these are the three perspectives to the views that have been expressed. So now the provision of the Constitution, Section 175 for the president and 212 or thereabout for the governors, clearly provide that the executive, which is the president, should have certain powers. They call it the prerogative of mercy or clemency, to be able to say, oh, you have been convicted of an offense, you have served your terms, and well, based on certain circumstances, currently, we have decided, we, not I, we have decided to, give you this pardon. And what are the circumstances? Or let's say, how do we arrive at this presidential pardon? Well, unfortunately, there are no clear-cut guidelines as to how to exercise this power in the Constitution. But then the Constitution have said, oh, the president can commute a term, that's a sentence that's probably maybe reduced from death sentence to life imprisonment, or from life imprisonment to some term of years, or from 24 to maybe 10, or say the person has 24 years to go, he has served 10, he says, okay, you are let go, you are free. Now, the president also has the powers, whether the person is dead or alive, to exercise his powers. Now, in doing that, there's a committee that looks into those who are qualified for this pardon or clemency. And that committee has the Human Rights Commission, they have representatives on that committee. The Christian Association of Nigeria has representative on that committee. Then the National Council for Islamic Affairs have representative on that committee. That committee is chaired by the Attorney General of the Federation. Then the correctional services, they also have representation on that committee. So what usually happens is, yes, people put in their application. If they feel, or when they feel that they've met certain criteria. And what are some of the criteria that they've put in place that they look into? Number one, that the person in the course of serving his or her term has shown a huge sense of remorse. The person is remorseful, yes, oh, I've done this, I'm not supposed to do this. That remorse is there. Two, if it is an offense that has to do with economic or financial offense. Number two thing is, yes, maybe the person has learned a trade or a skill, or has probably, gotten some academic qualifications that makes the person a fit and proper person in a typical society. And one of the other important criteria is that, yes, this person haven't met this skill, the standard of this skill, haven't had some academic qualifications, haven't been remorseful, is psychologically okay and prepared to face the society, to face the outside world. And then definitely we all know that these criteria, these conditions that we have just listed, we all know that the only people, the only group of persons or the institution that can testify in that regard that this person has met these four basic conditions that I listed are the people from the correctional services. That's the Nigerian prisons, what we used to call Nigerian prisons before. So, which means that the first onus, the first institution that triggers that has put in place or put forward anybody at all for consideration is the Nigerian Correctional Service. They will prepare that report on each of those individuals, presenting them to the committee, that these persons have now met these conditions. Mr. President, please consider them for pardon. Now, if they have done their job, and if they feel that, oh, these persons are qualified, they put their names there and they submit to the committee. The committee looks at it and approves it. Recall that we mentioned some key institutions that have representative on that committee. When they are done with their work, the Constitution says that the Council of State comprises of the 36 states in this country, their governors, with the president will sit over that list and also determine whether or not the president should give it. Though the Constitution has vested him with those powers, but maybe as a way of some little check, I've said, oh, consult with the Council of State before you proceed with exercise of this power, because the power, though discretionary power of the president, shouldn't ordinarily be exercised arbitrarily. You know the maxim, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So now, to ensure that there is no absolute corruption of that power, in quotes, these things were put in place. In other words, that list, technically and legally speaking, does not emanate from the president.
But whatever happens in this country, people blame the president.
It emanates from the correctional services. We are going to get to the political aspect of it. We are just discussing the legal aspect of the scenario. So that is the procedure known to law. Now, the issues that will now arise is, if you have more than 70-something names on a list and you present it to the Council of State, these governors, they have a lot of things they are thinking about, ordinarily speaking. Mm-hmm. They won't sit down and start vetting the details of a 170-something list, as if that's what is of utmost priority to them from their individual states. When you see them come together like that, what most of them are thinking of is the road construction they need to do for them, how the council should approve 1 or 2 federal projects, and so on and so forth. Not to begin to bother themselves with the nitty-gritty and details of. And that is why it's very important for the correctional service to do a proper job of it. Then the committee to do a proper job of it. I'm not saying that, politically speaking, that list cannot be influenced. It can be influenced. In fact, I'm not saying this is what happened, but allegedly, the president can also have interest in granting pardon to 1 or 2 persons, and then give his push to it technically. The man in the correctional service will not say no to the president. He will definitely have the name and then prepare the reports in supporting it. I'm not saying that is what happened, but it can happen. It's politics. It is power. Now, each and every of these governors too could have an interest. And once they have an interest, they will go that route. It's political. If you're in the good books of the powers that be, you can get your person out. The man in the Ministry of Justice could also have some interest. So is the controller, the CG, Controller General of the Correctional Services or whatever, could also have an interest. So this angle of it now is the political aspect of the whole exercise. What we discussed before this moment is the legal perspective to the exercise. But now this is the political aspect. These are the political realities. But we can only express opinions on these issues. We are not sure, it's not certain that, oh, Mr. A influenced this list or added this name or that name, Mr. B did this or did that or did that. But the worry for me basically is this. Yes, you cannot technically blame A or C and B for that. You can't say, okay, oh, the buck, I won't place it on the president. Absolutely. If Mr. Correctional Service has done his work properly, the president is what they brought before the president, that the Council of State, that they will look into and so on. It's easy to say that. But then, from what we saw on the blog or website of the State House, where we had all of those lists and a summary of their offenses, it means that I can conveniently reach the conclusion that when that list was presented, this summary at least came with the list. Oh, this man imported cocaine, this one imported cannabis sativa, this one did this one brought in tramadol, this one murdered this person, and so on and so on. This one is a kidnap kingpin, and what not. So the question for me that begs for answer is, are these the best remorseful people that we can get out? Don't we have those who, by the nature of their case files, shouldn't even be there? But yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask. Officers of the correctional service, they will tell you, in fact, some of them go out of their way to speak to some of us who are lawyers to do pro bono cases for some of these inmates, because they have reached the conclusion that those inmates are not supposed to be there, but they can't do anything until there's a pronouncement from the court. What happened to those kind of people? How many of them do we have on that list? Go to the magistrate courts around. Go to the high courts around. You will see that there's this group of persons they bring in every day in these their prison vehicles who don't even have legal counsel, whose cases are not going on. Yes, no witnesses, no complainant, and so on.
There is this, I believe that there are people in prison that if you ask them today, they will tell you, I don't even know why.
Yes,
they are there.
What happened to them?
But are people like that qualify in the law to be granted pardon?
Of course they are. And you see, to be very, very to be fair to our judicial system, there, apart from this particular power vested on the president and the Council of State and the advisory committee and so on, we also have in our administration, our criminal justice administration, the rules that govern it, especially for us in Abuja here, we say Administration of Criminal Justice Act. They have it in Lagos, their own is Administration of Criminal Justice Law, and in every other state, they have their criminal procedural laws. Now, in those laws, apart from the president, when we started, I mentioned that the other section, 212, is for the governors. So as the president has the powers to do this, the governors also have powers to do that. So at their level, they do it, which is another window. There's another window for us here, where the CJ, there's this committee that the CJ chairs, that's the chief judge of the FCT. They go to prisons to attend to these cases from there. They call for the case files, they look at the situation. If you are not supposed to be there, they let you go. If you are there and there is an unnecessary delay, like I handled one case one time, the guy was in detention. He was actually granted bail, but he couldn't perfect his bail, so he was there. The matter had gone to full trial. It was adjourned for judgment. And this upper area court judge kept on adjourning, never wanting to deliver the judgment, never wanted to deliver the judgment. So what happened? The CJ went to, I think it was Suleja at that time, and looked at the young man's file and said, what's happening? The matter is supposed to be for judgment. Why are you still where you are? And he compelled the judge to deliver judgment on a particular date. And that was how that judgment was delivered. And then the guy paid his fine and moved on. So there are different, the CJ can let some of those ones go, the governor can let, the president can. So I don't know, is it that for the president's exercise of his powers to prerogative of mercy, is it only those that are politically exposed persons that they do? Because I remember a particular president letting out a particular governor of a particular state who embarrassed us at an international level.
Now, the question I want to ask now is there a period of time for the granting of this pardon, like the president just did it? Is there a period of time within which he can do it again? Same for the governors and the judges.
No time is fixed. In fact, if they bring another list tomorrow and he is disposed to allowing those ones go, yeah, let them go. It's a discretionary power. But you see, the tradition for many of them is they like to lock it into this Independence Day celebration, anniversaries for maybe a president or a governor, or anniversary for when the state was created and so on. They like to lock it, anchor it on a particular season and event. But there's no time span for it. But basically, that power cannot, the one for the president and the governors, can only come to play after conviction. That means the person must have been convicted and sentenced and is serving a sentence without an appeal. If the person has not appealed that judgment, I know that some of those guys that were let go by the president recently, some of them exhausted their appeal cycle and the court said remain there. Now, if you have an appeal pending, what you can do is, if you are qualified for it, maybe if you have pushed and then they said, okay, oh, we are giving you the green light, we can possibly let you go. You will withdraw your appeal. They will let you go. Now, the one for the CJ does not need to be a post-conviction process. It doesn't have to be a post-conviction process. It is a procedure that can be handled as the matters are ongoing. So basically what the CJ does is to go and check, instead of sitting in his chambers or in the courtroom and wait for them, he goes to the prison, he asks these guys questions. The judges also will be there with the case files. So they look at the files. It's like moving the courtroom to the prisons. Then they make decisions. So
all right. This conversation is getting very interesting right now. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at some issues around that. Stay with us. Yes, of course, the controversies arising from the presidential pardon granted to inmates in different correctional centers in Nigeria is what we are looking at right now. Tinubu's presidential pardon has raised a lot of controversies, and who else do you think can talk about this if not a legal practitioner? And we're already talking about it. One thing is this: our correctional centers are congested, and they've been complained from prison officers, civil society organizations about the congestion of our correctional centers. Now, if the CJ have the right, the governors have the right, and of course, the president have the right to grant pardon. Now, why do we still have people languishing in prison innocently, as the case may be? We've heard before where someone will tell you, I don't know what just happened. They found themselves there, maybe as suspects or for whatever reason. Do you need to have someone, all right, or you need to be politically connected before you get this pardon? That's what we're talking about. Why do we always have this controversy? People asking questions, people not being satisfied with the pardon granted, whereas some people said it is supposed to be a thing of joy. And that's why we have a legal practitioner talking to us on this matter today. There was a statistic that was put out, and some persons gave the percentages, said, well, people that the different offenses, the percentage of people that were released, and they said people convicted for drug-related cases have the highest percentage. People who committed murder, genocide, and they just name it. And people were saying so many things. Now you were saying something very vital, that it doesn't have time, all right? No timeline for this pardon to be carried out. Can it be advised? Because sometimes, like you said, the people we have talk about governors, like you rightly spoken, maybe they may not even go through the list, to do the proper finding, the researches that they need to do, maybe because of commitment or maybe other assignments that they need to carry out. Now, is there a way that they can be advised and say, do this or do that? And who is in the position to do that if there is one?
You see, and this talking about the societal, the moral issues involved in all of this thing that we are discussing. Now, we've talked about the legal, we've looked a little bit into the political, we'll look into the moral issues involved. Now, the moral issues involved here are as follows. Number one, you know, we all have, we told one religion or the other, we preach forgiveness. And then some people will tell you, oh, if they have been forgiven, if they said they are remorseful and they have been forgiven, who are we? If God forgives, why can't we forgive? Why don't just we forget about the content of the list and say, oh, they are repentant ex-convicts. They are repentant ex-convicts. I can no longer call them convicts because of the presidential pardon. Why don't we just leave it at that? It places a moral burden on you. If you say, oh, you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you teach forgiveness and so on and so forth, for you to begin to insist that people must suffer in perpetuity for offenses they committed and for some suffering they have already gone through, you should allow them go. Now, it's convenient to put in that moral argument. Now, another moral issue, which is the negative side of it, is this. The bulk of the time, in most cases, I don't want to say 100%, those who come out, whose names are contained on those lists, are those, one, who either have the political connection, high-powered one, two, who have money, serious money, three, those who have a combination of both. Now, when somebody said the name of the person who kidnapped the learned Silk, Michael Zekome, was on that list. I'm yet to verify. If that is the position, the guy has money. You will be surprised that he's even probably carrying out acts of kidnapping right from the prisons. I did a matter one time. The guy was using fake bank alerts to steal people's vehicles. He was arrested, tried, convicted. He was in Kuje and he was still doing the same thing. Took 5 vehicles in the Gimbia axis. No, not Gimbia. Saad, where you have former Saad stores. You know, you have GTB, you have Uke Street, that area where you have former Saad. Took 5 vehicles from there in one day, on a particular Friday, including a Venza that was given to one of my clients to sell. Unfortunately, he picked one of the vehicles.
He comes claiming he's going to buy them and pay.
Yes, he returns. He calls. He will call and tell you he works in so place. He's not. He will not be able to come. He will send his driver and send the mechanic and do this and do that. I mean, most of 99% of those fake alerts was emanating with bank accounts involving a particular bank. I don't want to call the bank's name. And eventually investigation led to an accountant in the bank, a female accountant in the bank from a particular region of this country. They were all got, in fact, about close to 100 vehicles were recovered using that process. The guy was in Kuje. What I'm saying in essence is that some of these people, it is difficult for you to say they are remorseful and they have repented.
That's exactly
criminals do not. They do.
If they say they are remorseful, what do you use in checking their remorsefulness? Because anyone in custody should be
use money. This is the moral aspect of what we are discussing now. Legally, everything looks fine. I will give it a pass back. Legally, politically, yes. 50-50. Because once you begin to inject your interest into it, that is all. But the bulk of what played out is money. Isn't that the same place Bobrisky said she, I don't know whether it's he or she, went to and then ended up in an hotel room, in one of the hotels. Ended up in a hotel. And came out with her mouth to social media to say, oh, this was what.
So this barrister, this problem now
is corruption.
So the corruption is putting out this act of corruption? Is it the correctional center? Is it the legal system, the political system? Where is it coming from?
For the presidential amnesty program, the judiciary has nothing to do with it. They are done with their own.
No, we're talking about the issue of
now, but
people committing crime
right now, as we speak right now, people committing crime from custody has to do basically with the correctional services.
And nobody has been heard.
They gave them phones to, the Bobrisky allegation, what happened to it? Were people not involved? Have we heard the conclusion?
Even doing social media.
Yes, have we heard the conclusion of the matter? Who was punished? Who was not punished? So you see, when you check that list, you should know now, drug people, they have a lot of money to throw around. If one person is in, others are outside. So if it is the money you want, they will give you. Once they give them, they put their list and write a report. It's like when they tell people submit business proposal or submit your profile for contract, and they go to cook all books from either one Uluwole or one UTC or one. It's a deep-rooted corruption affair. So what I have decided not to do is to pin it down on one man like many other people do and say, oh, is the president, is this, is that, is because is this, is that, that's why I did this. No.
There is a case I saw on social media, and the person, because I was curious, and the person spoke extensively to explain what the issue is. As you just mentioned Oluwole now, I remembered, because that's one of the things to do. He said this person forged the certificate of her institution and awarded it to some persons and collected money in the name of her institution, whereas this person has no connection to the institution. He just came, got the flyer of the institution, and went and produced a certificate and issued this certificate, all right, to people. You know, it's part of what we're talking about now.
These are
what is the implication of this kind of cases, and how can this kind of people be brought to book? You're a judicial practitioner. That's why I'm asking these questions, you know.
We have a situation where those who are even known criminals in your community, they will catch them and take them to the police station. The next day they are out. This year alone, in one of my clients' sites, we've caught criminals, not one, not two, not three. Nothing happened. I won't call the name of the police division that is involved. I won't. I usually like to spare persons of certain dimension of embarrassment. You will take the complaint there, they are eager to let the person go. The exhibits that are caught and arrested, you take exhibits to the police station, divisions for that matter, not police station, not police outpost, police divisions for that matter. The exhibits get there, the next day they are ready to push to release the exhibit to the person, and they'll be telling you they are releasing on bond. Exhibit that are supposed to take to court to prosecute is even a problem. And the same people are there, they will be criticizing this list. That's my analysis with the way we behave in this country. Not one, not two, not three. Personally, that I'm personally involved. It got to a point my client was fed up. If you mention police and all of that, he just waves. Did you people recover the items? Say yes. He will say go. We arrested one IJet with some items one time. The next thing, the police they were putting me under pressure. The IJet, it belongs to one of our former DIG. This, that. I'm putting them in the DIG. I said, since you are making it look like I'm the one that wants to get you fired. Okay, now give them the IJet. Let me rest. Because I tell you that you are still asking me for monies for prosecution. This country is a country where they are prosecuting. You are paying, you are the complainant, but you are still paying the prosecutor so that he will prosecute your case for you. Some people even hire lawyers to do what they call to hold watching brief in quotes. A phrase from me or a clause from me that doesn't have any place in the judicial system. And they sit down because they want to ensure that their cases are not compromised. So we can go on and on and on. There are criminals everywhere. They will take them in and release them. But the question is that is likely what has happened, or what usually happens in some of these cases. Just get the money and give it to them now. That's all. So now, maybe Evans's name is not on the list because he's still facing, I think some arm of his trial is still ongoing. Maybe his name would have been there. But once you pay, they give you now. It's just what is happening. If not, how do you describe this kind of list? How? From a moral perspective, how do you describe it? And you say, I want to begin to wonder. I think we need to know the names of these other agencies or institutions, whether religious or secular, that are involved, that are in that particular committee. I think we need to even know them. This is a big issue. Yes, because they have to vet the list. We saw the percentage right now on the screen, and of course you can see the crime and the percentage of people that were released. Look at, for instance, the presidential pardon by a crime category. You can see drug-related offences, 70, and that is like 40%. And you see illegal mining offences, 34. Ramsey, see that? You see that number one that is there? Yes. We clearly give you a comfortable landing in the hypothesis that money played a role. High political connections probably played a role in that. But the people now, number two, because in this chain that we have seen now, doesn't make the highest form of illegitimate earnings on that chart you are seeing are the drug-related people, followed by the illegal miners. They are the ones, these two categories, they are making on that chart, they are the ones who have the highest form of illegitimate earnings. But as it is right now, looking at this is something that is done. The people involved in this are not people that are poor. So don't you think this might sound like an allegation if you say money have exchanged? I know some of them there, maybe individually, you might not trace much to them. But some of them are foot soldiers for some cartels and organizations who will push these resources around to get these things done. But this issue now, as it is, do you think anything can be done? Is it possible for someone to rise up today and say, well, I'm an undercover, I want to do a research? Can anything be done? Pardon has been pardoned and it's coming from the highest authority. No matter what people say, no matter the controversy, do you think any controversy is going to hold water here? Well, there will always be controversies. But the thing is, maybe I will rephrase, can the world or even the country be a better place? That's the question for me. Because all what we are discussing is applicable across the board. Across board is applicable. That somebody did not do drugs and was arrested and convicted does not mean that person is also playing or discharging the proper role he ought to discharge in the society. For example, those who sat on those committees, the correctional service people who prepared those lists, who agreed to be compromised, assuming somebody compromised them from top. They are part of the issues. They cannot be exonerated. The family members who pushed, who have been pushing, there's a particular one, right from the point of trial, they have been pushing. They pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. The judge refused to be compromised. They went on appeal. The appeal hit them out. In fact, that their own is the most controversial one today. And here they are. They got it through this presidential pardon thing. Nobody knows who they met in the chain of those that are involved. There is this, I've once had a conversation with a legal practitioner, and he said something that there is this saying that the judicial system is corrupt because it is more like the highest bidder getting the right judgments. And I asked a question. I said, then there is this saying that the judiciary
is the last hope of the common man. I'm saying this now because a judge is also involved in the committee, headed the committee. Now, and the judicial officer during that program said something that, well, it is being generalized to an extent in some quarters, that maybe the exchange of money or whatever that is being given may happen with maybe somebody who is a less officer, or maybe someone assisting at some level. That compromise happened, and to an extent, the person at the top may not even be aware. Now, let's come down to this. Do you think this allegation, now I call it allegation because it's not been proven, it's been, as people are alleging, that probably maybe money may have exchanged hand or whatever may have happened, that is allegedly because it's not proven, and we wouldn't want to take that now, but then as it is, do you think that can happen, and maybe the real actors may not be aware that some subordinates or some persons working with them may have compromised at some level? Is it possible?
Well, like I said, with respect to the particular topic of discourse, the judiciary has no role to play. It's strictly speaking an executive arm affair. But that does not mean that the
committee was headed by...
No, the committee is being headed by the Attorney General of the Federation. And the Attorney General of the Federation is not a judge. Because once we mention judiciary, every eye is on the judges. So the judges are not involved in this particular process. However, that is not to say that we don't have bad eggs in the judiciary, like we have in every other sector or sphere. So we have, even in the chain of religious chain and hierarchy, and so you still have bad eggs there. Jesus had only 12 persons. One of them was a rotten egg, Judas. So if out of 12, one is bad, then take the figures of the judges and say, okay, for every 12 you have a bad one. We are not saying they are saints, but there are very serious and diligent, hardworking, trustworthy judges. Those ones, people, you don't hear about them. But there are judges you can't compromise. And I know some of them as a practicing lawyer. But you see, what has given us so much bad name in the judiciary, the bench and the bar, is this aspect of these election petition cases and so on. That is the one people see. That is the one people hear. That is the one they talk about. But a lot of things...
But are they compromising in that level?
Well, maybe yes. If you look at some of the judgments, it's not that we caught any of them collecting money or being given money. Many people just talk if based on and they do deductive or inductive reasoning. You know, they add one logic to the other. Oh, they've done this, they've done that, they've done that. It means they've collected money. Some lawyers will tell you, oh, this principle is not supposed to be. This is the principle that we know. It therefore means they've collected money. So these are just, you know, when we were talking, we said you severally used the word allegedly. So that's the position. But the final thing is that whatever it is happens everywhere, also happens in the judiciary, being an extension of the country where we operate. But you see, people must learn to, and I keep telling people, some people will say, oh, the board rests or lands or is on the table of the president. Why didn't he say no to this? Why did he not say no to that? Or the president influenced this? Because people are banding opinions up and down that yes, the rate for the drug-related issues is because they have been accusing the president of being a drug baron and what not. The question I keep asking is, if I'm in the correctional service and then you tell me that make a report exonerating Mr. XYZ, am I bound to do it? Ramsey, no, I'm not. If your enemy tells you to go and do something wrong, will you do it? You will not. So if I'm a civil servant, and I keep telling people, what must you be in that office? Is your life tied to it? Because it's easy for us to say, oh, the president did this, the president did that. And I've always asked, will the president do anything without the support of other persons? So if I'm in the correctional service and you tell me to do a report that somebody is remorseful, who is not remorseful, why won't I drop my pen and leave the office? Then in a situation where there is no job and people are there are jobs in Nigeria, they will tell you there are jobs. That's what a lot of people are saying. My mother calls me every now and then from my hometown. Nobody to go to the farm, nobody. You pay, and there is a long queue for that. You pay. People for them to go to the farm. And those ones are even scarce. So you have to wait. And we are saying there are no jobs. But some of us wear suit and wear tie. Don't you think in reality, don't you think it's difficult for people in the system? Just up your street here, there is a plaza there. If you enter that plaza, you see somebody doing his petty trade. What stops you, the next person, from doing his or her own petty trade or his or her own trade? We're in this country. The last government shared monies across board to everybody. In my neighborhood, I know people who got. So I would dispute. What did they do with the monies that they were giving? Barrister. Those monies were meant to build middle class. People should stop. Let us. We've had statistics, all right, and we've had cases of unemployment in the country. Are you disputing that fact? Statistics is for those who are running their statistics. I'm telling you what I know. And what is possible. Yes, and I've put this thing on the social media space at some point, and nobody argued it. And what did I post? If you are on this, if you are linked to me here, if you can see this post, and you don't know anybody at all who has benefited from this SMEs related project and NISAL at all, please let me know. You know, that was not the way I put it. I insulted people. I said people are busy collecting money directly or indirectly, and they are talking. Nobody came to challenge you. Oh, all right. Now, maybe, Barrister, you're trying to establish the fact that there is no excuse for anyone to commit. There is no excuse. And go to prison before get convicted before we even talk. Do you have everything you have? As I'm seated there, do I have everything I desire? Why didn't I go to commit crime? Do I have everything? Barrister, while you were speaking, you said something very vital, and it caught my attention, and this is it. The issue of the police and releasing people that have committed crime, all right? And you were specific because you were somehow at the center of that situation. Two divisions. Not just a post. Not a police outpost. Not outpost. A division. Now, you are a barrister, a legal practitioner, and you had that situation, and you had no choice than to let go. Now, the police, okay, as law enforcement agents, and there is this preaching that the police is your friend. And a lot of things have happened. We've had a lot of complaints as people in the media space, you know, a lot of complaints. We've been told several things, we've heard several things, some were seen, and even like you are attesting to right now. If this situation is this deteriorating, what do you think, if you as a legal practitioner will not be able to surmount that situation that time? What now is the hope of the average Nigerian who run to the police post all the time when they have issues, they have cases? I can surmount it, but there will be consequences. You never wanted anyone to lose their job. There will be consequences, and I also, put in so much time, put in so much resources. There will be consequences. And then somebody will be someone, you can imagine one irresponsible man who wants to put his, we're just arguing with respect to unemployment, and he wants to jeopardize the small thing that is going to his wife and children at home and so on and so forth. That is what will happen. If you even move that case from there, for example, you move that case from there and you take it to the next level, which is the area command, you will likely meet the same situation. If you take it to, and that is why, since 2009 or thereabout, I reached this conclusion. Any crime the police wants to stem, if they are very, as you see them, so they are very hardworking. They know how to put an end, they know how to get and arrest any group of persons they want to arrest. So you see, to the police, they said you're hardworking. Police officers, they said you're hardworking. So but the issue, you guys, they need to want to do it. And sometimes the motivating factor for some of them is money. Okay, look at the Arise TV scenario. Look at what happened. These police officers, they even know some of those people. They know them. They know the arrest has been done, so they can easily pick them. I had this experience. That man was a very senior officer. We were together in law school. I think while he was in law school, his son went with his vehicle to a club and so on and so forth. And the guy was somehow he was robbed. Before daybreak, recoveries were made. Before daybreak? Yes. When Igwe was here as CP, we saw a lot of things that happened. He was taking the battle to the criminals' hideouts. He wasn't waiting for them to come to town. At night, everybody, dress up, enter into, as area commander, you are going to some places as a CP, is leading some team to some places as a divisional police officer. You have them do that. You mean left city? Yes. And if these things are possible, but somehow, I don't know, they are not doing it. There are so many of them who desire to sit down. They will tell you, bring a petition, come and pay us. They collect money for petition, pay us for approval. They collect money for approval, pay us, we have assigned it, pay us for want to go and arrest or want to go and, most of them are, it's not as if these two aspects, components of them are mixed together. And you see, the bad things we do get more amplified than the good things we get to do. So that's the problem that they have. Majorly, they are just refusing to do their job, to get their job done. But they can do it. They can do it. Now, Barrister, as it is, you said something very vital while you were speaking. The reason why we're talking about this is because we're talking about the pardon granted by the president. First of all, a crime was committed, and these people were convicted, and they were in custody before this pardon happened. What we're talking about right now is how this crime can be prevented from happening at all. If we don't have criminals and convicted people, we won't talk about pardon. Now, so many times, the easiest and fastest place people run to in Nigeria here is the police station. And we're hearing this from a legal practitioner who have actually had an encounter. Beside what we hear from Nigerians, Nigerians also complain about that. You said something and I picked it up. You said this happened at the division. Even if you get to the area, it may be the same thing. In such a situation, look, let me tell you, what Nigerians do. There is one of my colleagues, I will not call his name, went somewhere, wrote something that he called a court order, and moved an area commander to go and unlawfully move people's properties, threw them out at night. Those properties, I think for 3-4 years now, the whole of the building, none of them knows where his or her property has gone to. In this country. This guy, this colleague of mine that I'm talking about, is currently facing trial for some other charges. So you see, at the end of the day, and that's a legal practitioner we're talking about. Yes. At the end of the day, of the bad egg, every sector, every place you can think of, you can't have a better country with citizens that are bundles of liability. The citizens are liabilities to the country. We'll be shouting Nigeria, Nigeria, Nigeria. Nigeria is an abstract now. It's a name. It's a name. The real Nigeria are the people. We can't be bad people and expect good outcomes. It's not possible. So if anyone say Nigeria is bad, the person is saying that the people of the country are bad. And that is just it. Go around, check now. Everybody will be talking at their own level. I'll just be looking at them and laughing. When I'm discussing these issues, I lose I can't control myself. A thief will be calling another person a thief in this country. We are talking about stemming the tides of crime. How are you going to stop it? When that young man that you think is a criminal is aware of that one that is stealing from the office, sit with them and talk to some of them. They will tell you. Michael Sekoma was narrating his experience. He mentioned what those guys told him at the time they kidnapped him. The thief knows that he's stealing from a thief. He is aware. Check all the real estate sectors. Go into the real estate sector and check. 99% of the people there are houses that are owned by civil servants and public. How much is their salary? So because they are not drug barons in quotes, because they don't do drugs, are they saints? You are criticizing a list unnecessarily. These are the moral issues. Many people even criticize this list, they are not supposed to, they lack what we call the local standard to do that. Because they themselves are a problem to the country. What are you talking about? Okay, you want proper policing, okay, fine. Well, what is your budget for the police? How are the monies being spent? What have you done about how the monies are being spent? How many policemen do we even have? No, let us be fair to them. How many do we have? In my area, there are several estates there. We have a division of how many police people. So what will they do? To police all of us in that area. What will they do? The weapons they use, are they up to the ones that some of the criminals carry and bandy up and down? So you want somebody's father to go and lay his life for you? Is it Jesus Christ? Let us be factual about some of the things we say. If you go to a police division or a police station and the place is fine, just know that DPO that is there and his team have gone extra mile in quotes to make that place a little bit convenient. We amplify the bad side. I'm not saying there are no bad sides. I'm not saying there are no bad eggs. In fact, there are some policemen who are even criminals themselves, who steal and rob from people. We have them. But there is also this side to it. Because if you want to do proper policing, how will you tell? It's just a problem. The young man knows that the person is going to steal from is a thief. Or you arrest a young man, the first thing you want to do is to check his phone, whether he's into Yahoo, and then force him to move his monies to you, to transfer the money to you before you leave him. Or take him to ATM, and you want him to stop. Is that how people stop being criminals? Or the moment they are arrested, their parents are around. They will travel from cut across 4, 5, 6 states to come here, lodge in hotels to bail them out. And you want crimes to stop. It is still even that will stop the crime that the family members are encouraging. How is it going to? How are we going to?
So invariably, you are saying a lot of people are blaming the president, the people in authority, whereas the society,
the bulk of the society is in a mess. The bulk of the society is in a mess.
So how do we tackle this menace?
Well, we'll try our best. I think one of these between 1999 and today, one of the governments was saying, how did they put that their slogan? There was a slogan, the
war against the discipline?
No, I'm trying to recall. Maybe I'll recall before the end. But I know there was another slogan. If you see something, say something. Okay. It has to do with our psyche and orientation. We need to really talk to ourselves and then tell ourselves the truth. We tell ourselves so many lies on social media, on newspaper pages, based on sentiments. We just tell so many lies to ourselves. But for me, I keep telling people, I say, my father will be very angry in the grave if all he struggled to do, he struggled to take me to school. He took me to school, I'm a graduate. And then I start talking foolishly. I talk the way the mechanic talks. And I think the way a mechanic thinks. Then there is problem. we need to tell ourselves the truth. And the truth is simple. If we don't decide to be good people, we can't have a good country. Let us not deceive ourselves. We must be good people to have a good country. So when the bulk of us have decided not to be good, somebody who has, if you want to be sincere, tell me what is the salary of a typical civil servant that you are going to start level 7, they give you an appointment, and you want to get, you want to own a car, you want to own a house, you want your children to go to the best schools, probably you want to take them abroad to go and do university or their postgraduate program, and then you enter civil service and you are going to share testimony. You didn't enter that civil service as a gap, a bridge gap. You entered, you want to do full career. I engaged one woman that I gave lift the other day up to church gate. I didn't know she was a civil servant. We were discussing Nigerian problems, and I didn't know she was a civil servant. She was close to alighting from the vehicle when she told me she was a civil servant. And in their office, they will tell you, wait for your time. That all of them are patiently waiting for their time. Their time to do it, their time to steal. Director of finance, director of projects, the auditors, the PAMSEC. You see them drive luxurious cars up and down. Where did they get them from? Then you are casting stones. Jesus said, permit me. Jesus said, if you are without any sin or ill, cast the first stone. Can many of them say their closets are clean?
All right. Finally, before I let you go now, because our time is running up. So, in a nutshell, everything that you're saying now is that Nigerians don't have the right standing to criticize the violence done by the president.
Most of us don't. If you look at it, most of us don't. We don't. We should just keep quiet. We are not even ready to have a good country. We are not ready at all. We are not ready to have a proper country. We are not ready.
All right. As it is right now, I think so many things are going on. And of course, Nigeria is our country. Like you said everyone have a role to play. So on a final note now, before I let you go, because as it is right now, you've said almost everything. That Nigerians don't have the right standing to criticize the president's list, all right? The presidential pardon is raising controversy, but you say Nigerians, most of us
are not good people. We are bad people. We are talking that we are saying somebody else is bad. We are not good people.
All right. As it is
because you were asking one time, you asked me a question that, if I had abandoned the redress with respect to what happened at the divisions, what will happen? I will give you an experience. Maybe it was part of the reasons why I let go. If you do a petition to the higher office, when they collect, they will inform the person you petitioned and keep the petition. You start rolling up and, my brother.
All right. Well, it's overwhelming. Of course, we can't finish talking about it right here. But as it is, we just have to go. And I want to say a very big thank you to you, Barrister, for joining us on the conversation today and all the revelations and the discussion.
You're welcome, my brother. It's my pleasure being here.
Thank you. All right. This is the much we will be taking on the discussion today. As a matter of fact, so many things happening in Nigeria. We're talking about the controversies being raised by Nigerians as regards Tinubu's presidential pardon. And of course, it's all about prerogative of mercy. But now, what else can we say? But the pardon has been done. Anyone that has the right, if you have a case and you need a pardon, well, let's see how remorse you are right there in custody. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, we'll return for the conclusion of Global Morning. Stay with